Yeah, so a couple people been asking us, what is hey,
What's going on? What's going on?
hey.
Yeah, we've been going back and forth on what we wanted what our next topic to be. So
We
we couldn't
have
decide.
we couldn't decide.
So we just gonna freestyle off the top of the dome, which we do anyway every video.
Yeah, we do. Never prepare for them.
So freestyle. Sharpness, gotta stay sharp. So I think one of the main topics we discussed was courting future wife or dating in general. The other one was finances, credit scores. What's up, man? What you need?
And we can also
Okay.
piggyback from some of the other lives that we have done in the past if you guys want to hit on those as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So the ball is in y'all court today. Since my husband and I couldn't decide.
Mhm.
And that goes, what was our first video? Well, I think we was just freestyling on that one too.
Our first video. Wait, do y'all anything about Bitcoin currency?
Read the question out loud so people can hear it.
Do y'all know anything about Bitcoin currency?
You know what, Toy? I've been trying to do my homework on Bitcoin, but what I'm hearing that is not a good idea to invest in it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I heard otherwise. I heard it is something to invest
Hey, Bill.
in. I heard that Bitcoin is going to be the new medium of exchange.
Yeah, and if you go to Robinhood, which I have all the stock markets on my phone, to even invest, to have one share in Bitcoin, it's a couple $100.
No, it's like thousands.
When I looked at it at first, it was a couple months ago because I actually was gonna invest in it for us.
Yeah, one coin
It's
is like
it's a lot. It's a lot of money, and
you
I
can
would
do it even on your Cash App. You can invest in Bitcoin through Cash App. Y'all go to your Cash App, you can see it on there.
download Robinhood too. I don't know about Cash App Toy, but I do know about Robinhood and some of the other stock market apps that is on our phone that you can download. But one share is a ridiculous amount of money, but it don't hurt.
Yeah, you don't need the full share. Any percentage is good. It's kind of similar to the stock market.
Hey,
but I don't
Raquel.
want to give up too much information on that because we're not experts on Bitcoin.
Yeah, we always taking a risk. We're not an expert on Bitcoin, but we always take a risk when we invest in stocks anyway. Me, I like to
See,
gamble.
look, right now what I'm talking about.
I bought a few stocks on Cash App. See, you know what, Toy? You might want to get with Ronell, because he's saying that he purchased a couple on Cash App. I didn't know that you can invest off Cash App.
On Cash App, yeah.
So y'all taught me something new.
Yeah.
But it is a couple others that I do invest in. Toy, you know, hey Reese, it just takes so much of your time. I even I also created me a separate email to have all of my junk mail with the stock market go to that email just to follow up on a day-to-day.
Yeah.
Oh, Ronell said just to try, but he don't know anything about it.
Yeah, it's anything dealing with stock market.
That's all right.
Yeah,
You just want to see your money double.
You got an investment mind to even ask that question.
A lot of time.
Yeah, Bitcoin is Bitcoin took off. I want to say, I'm not sure actually. I think it took off like 5 or 6 years ago. I know it started getting heavy in media, like 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, it's definitely something to consider. You know, stock market can be scary, so.
It ain't scary to me, y'all. My husband is not a gambler.
Not to me. Not just scary, but it could be something you know that you shouldn't play around with that. What's going on, Reese? Nothing, man. We just talking, man. We just.
Ronell said that Bitcoin is 8K. See?
Yeah, I told you it's a couple thousand.
Nope.
Yeah, I think at one point it was at 18. It bounces around. It's just like the stock market.
18,000? It wasn't like that. It was a while. Like I said, I looked at it a while ago.
I remember it was 56,000 at one point.
No.
Yeah, one for one coin. It bounces around just like the stock market, you know.
Well, yeah.
You know, so. But you want to get in while it's low.
There's other things that you can invest in, Toy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the ball is in y'all court today.
seems like it seems like the last few questions were focused towards finances,
Finances and relationships.
retirement, and things like that. So, one of the things I talked to with my stepdad, my father-in-law, is retirement because he's on the incline of his his career status, and he's thinking about retirement all the time, and making sure that 80% is reached, maxing out at 80%, because if you don't know, you want to reach 80% is the maximum you can get when you retire. But a couple of things have to be met. You have to have worked 30 years and be 56, I think it is. But I think it's 30 years now. I think it's 30 years. 30
it
years
used to be
work.
32, right?
Man, for a long time, I thought it was 20 years.
No.
That's how long I thought. I was like, yo, they want us to retire at a very, a nice age. I'm like, no, they want you to retire at 30 years. And then for you to get your, what is it called? What is it called when the government is involved?
Your pension?
Yeah, no, not your pension. Your
you
know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
She want to jump down. Yeah, to get your, what is it called? Anyways, I think you have to be at 56.
Hey, Brizzy Cupcake. But it's the key entity and point to that says you want to at least try to invest $20,000 into your thrift savings or your 401k a year. 18. Yes,
18,
I think the maximum is 18. It will not let you invest 19 or 20,000. And in most businesses,
that's untaxed.
Untaxed.
Or
That's your money.
That's before taxes. So when you get paid, if you're investing that in your 401k, that's before your money gets taxed. So your money gets taxed after you've invested the money into your 401k. So, you're not gonna invest 18,000. Most people are not.
Unless you have absolutely no bills.
Yeah, that's crazy. Which
No
you probably
outside
don't
money.
even have a job. You probably own your own business at that point. But those that are in that, under 100,000 income, you want to try to get at least a couple hundred invested in every time you get paid, depending on your payments. Like if you get paid twice a week, we get paid twice. We get paid every 2 weeks. So we both invest a couple hundred into our TSP. So at the end of the year, that money, that also goes back to what we said in the last video, where let me take her outside. Where 10% of that, but you can put it in come on, in the back or in the garage. Run around, but yeah, 10%. You get a 10% of your return every year, automatic. In fact, when I heard that, I was like, I don't believe it. I looked it up on my TSP account, and I looked up all the shares, and it said annually 10%. I'm like, wow. But it can be higher if you're aggressive, and you want to be aggressive. That's what a lady told me when I spoke to a stockbroker. She said, if you're young, be aggressive. You're in your 20s, be aggressive with the stock market. You got the opportunity to
mess up a couple times,
lose it all, get it back, lose it all, get it back again. So you just want to be smart in what you invest in, things that you are interested in. So yeah, but back to what I was talking about with my stepdad, father-in-law, Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's always, his mind is really focused on retirement. So he's talking about making sure all of his debt, or majority of his debt, is paid, where he's just paying for basic living circumstances, such as phone bill and utilities and things like that, But house should be paid off, car should be paid off. You should be buying cars and not paying car loan payments on them or
leasing them.
Yeah, I never really agree with the leasing part. I know a lot of people do it because they like getting a new car every year or every 2 years, but none of that money is going towards anything you're going to ever own.
The objective towards retirement is not for you to get a job after you retire, and most people do that because we don't invest our money into our thrift savings or 401 now. You know.
Okay, yep. Yeah, so, the benefit of having a spouse. Oh, that was what it was. Partnership versus marriage. Yeah, that was the topic. We're going to touch on that a little bit because we really want to have a live and a video dedicated to that solely. But just to touch on it, a lot of people ask us about marriage, right? Because, hey, we're married. But I don't recommend marriage. And for a long time, she kind of was butting heads on me about that and didn't agree with me. And I don't agree with marriage in the sense that I don't agree with the government getting involved in people's relationships. We are mature enough and educated enough to know how to conduct ourselves amongst each other without getting somebody involved off the rip. You know what I'm saying? You can actually look up what marriage, the definition of marriage, and she finally did today. You can look up the definition of marriage, and it's literally a legally bonding relationship in which the government is involved now, so they can dictate how you guys separate. They can dictate what you guys have to do when you separate, as far as splitting down your income.
And of course,
kids
the
getting
objective
involved.
is never to divorce. We
Right,
understand
right.
that these circumstances
No.
occur. I'm a big advocate for looking at the etymology of a word.
Yeah.
Because I truly understand that people misuse words, and they truly don't know the definition of something. So it is very important to educate yourself on these terms and definitions.
Mm-hmm.
So we have these discussions all the time, but my husband know in a minute I will pull out a thesaurus and or a dictionary, and we'll have to correct each other.
Yeah.
And that was the whole topic of today's discussion. I was doing my homework on the definition of marriage because most of you guys know I did have a birthday, and now I'm in my late 20s, and I'll be 30 next year.
30.
And and my whole 20s I spent with my husband. We've been in a relationship, and we've been married for 6 years. But during the duration of these 9 years I spent with him. So with that, I had a lot of time to reflect on myself individually, and I also had a lot of time to reflect on our marriage as one. And people suddenly think that when you jump into these relationships that the focus is all on the marriage, and we go into these marriages not whole within ourselves, but expecting our spouses to fix the things that we have lacked within our life for so long. So back to the marriage thing, and we can talk about that if you guys want to as well. But I was starting to look at our relationship as I did not agree with the term with being married according to the Webster Dictionary, right? And I would love to hear you guys' definition of what marriage means, because I do not agree with the government having a legal obligation on how my marriage should be ran. The only people that have a say-so with that is us.
Right.
So I like to think that me and my husband relationship is a partnership, which means that we both are participants in this marriage, right? We both can control and say what happens in this marriage. No one can dictate it. We run it, right?
No third party has a say-so on how we conduct our house.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
they shouldn't have a say-so. Now they do, because we did get legally married.
Yes, we are legally married.
But this is what I tell people all the time. People at my job, people, just friends in general that, see us and how we interact, and they want to know, because we kind of keep everything private, honestly. This New Year is new. We don't really do the
Very
lives.
private.
We don't really, we talk to our family and that's it.
And not even our whole family. We have maybe about four parties.
4 or 5 parties.
Four or 5 parties.
That know us intimately. Yeah.
And that's it. And they keep our information sacred, and they don't share it with no one. Even our close friends really don't know.
And yeah, people always think that when I say I don't agree with marriage, they think that I'm saying, oh, I don't want to be married. And I'm not saying that. I want to be with my wife. But I don't agree with the part that, a third party is involved. And what I do agree with is partnership.
third and fourth parties involved.
Looking at
lawyers,
it,
the courts,
and looking at it from a business aspect, you know, it's love is law, which is mandatory, right? There's penalties for not having the love, right? But family is business. And when you think about a business,
a lot of people don't agree with that.
No outside party can come in and even speak on behalf of either one of the people involved in the business. None. So we run it like that.
Our business meaning our marriage, the
Right.
love that we have for each other.
Right, because the love is already law. It's once you in, it's law, you know, and there's consequences behind, you know, not having or demonstrating the love. So I agree with the partnership, you know, because I want to be partners with somebody who has my best interests at heart, you know, and what better person would be the person that you're with. So I like to look at it from that part, and I preach that. I tell people to be together for those reasons, that you agree, you have a common goal, a common interest, you know, you have assets, and you have what's the other words? Dude, I'm having a senior moment right now. Consideration. You consider each other.
Yes.
These are all.
Yes.
These are all legal terms when you're talking about contracts and dealing with money. But they can also be transcended into relationship. So all of these things are factors when you talk about relationships. And like I said earlier, what better person to go into business with than your spouse, or than the person you love, or the person you're with? Because yeah, my best friend and me can go into business, right? But he or she might have a difference in end goal, right? They might be just trying to get to a certain amount of money and then be done. Whereas this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So they're not going to put as much energy into the business as I would. Whereas
energy or time.
Whereas if we can share our thoughts more freely without being judged, we can say, hey, listen, I'm in it, but I'm only in it for this. So I can conduct my business accordingly without thinking that you all the way in. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I like to look at our situation as a partnership. You know, common interests. Our interest is our children. You know, we have an investment in them, and we want to make sure that they have all the love that they can get, as well as all the guidance and instructions and everything that we have.
You guys are quiet today. Go ahead,
trying
babe.
to call in. No, we don't live calling. But yeah, so that was something we talked about, and that kind of stemmed from a person's, while in a relationship, right, recognizing and appreciating that person's growth. You know, because for us early on, we had a lot of disagreements, and I used to get really upset, and I would just try to like lay out everything that I've done. You know, I'm like, how can you say this? How can you do this? I've done all this, da 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 da. And she would look at it as if I'm trying to like throw it in her face that I've done these things. Where I'm like, yo, consider the fact that I've done these things, and you know, if you can show some appreciation. But it was both of us, me wording it wrong, right, and coming into a bit of a hostile argument, and then her interpreting what I'm saying wrong. So it was a combination of the two, which kind of led us into a lot more disagreements than resolution. But now we look at it as if, you know, hey, you don't have to say your growth. I can see it, and I'm gonna acknowledge it because I recognize it, and it's gonna cause me to grow and become better with myself for the betterment of the relationship. So, yeah, so that's how I looked at it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Nope, and I agree with you. I agree with everything you said, but you know, you really was not. I know you probably thought that you were communicating hostile with me, but you the way you respond or the way you speak it now is the same way that you respond then. Now I did feel like you always was trying to have one up on me.
Right.
But that was just us misunderstanding each other.
Because of the nature of how it even was brought up. We brought up in an argument. That's what it kind of come off of. That's what I mean. I don't mean like I'm yelling at you like, oh, I did all this. No, that's not what I meant.
Yeah, the way he communicate now is the same way how he communicate when we're in a disagreement. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why, I love my husband. It's not the reason why, but it is one of the reasons why, because I am a hothead. And he definitely loves me. So it's very important that when you are courting with someone, that you do find someone who can balance you in the midst of you working on yourself, because you don't want to put that much expectation on your spouse when that is something internally that you should correct anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be hostile to everyone else. And you know what? Now that I'm thinking about that, I think a key moment in our relationship that made me realize that I was communicating with you incorrectly was, I remember one time my husband said, you don't treat those people at work like that.
Yeah.
You don't talk to them like that.
I'll be on the phone
with
her, right? Because she'll have her earpiece on, or even may have the phone. You know, she the boss. And we argue. We arguing, right? But then I hear our employee come in and they did something, and she's like, well, you know, I need you da 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 da. And it's like, yo. But then she switched the energy back to me, and it's, you know, rah 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 rah. And I'm like, yo, you gotta have that same energy with me. That's not fair. You know what I'm saying? You talking to them like, you know, like you in the courthouse. And you talking to me like you in a jail cell. Yeah, they would do something bad, like, you know.
And he corrected me on that.
You know, come back past the hours they supposed to come, and they ain't had no reason to.
Now, this was a learned behavior that was established prior to my husband. I always dealt with things internally like that, you know, to people that I love the most. And one of the key moments was when my husband said, hey, you don't talk to your employees like that. How could you talk to someone that you love like that? And I immediately had to correct it. I'm still a little angry sometimes. But how I direct my energy towards him is not the same as it was 8 years ago, you know. And like I said, it's always nice in the midst of you changing, when you first find that error within yourself, that you learn how to correct it for yourself. And then it's always nice on top of that to have someone that balance you out and don't come to you with the same energy that you come in with them. Because in the midst of a huge argument, he do not raise his voice at all. And I don't care what the situation may be.
No, I try not to. Yeah, two people yelling at each other, nobody's hearing each other. And I want to be heard when I speak. You know, it frustrates me when I made a point that's very clear and you say you don't understand it. You know, like I communicate very well and I use words that best describe what I'm saying. So when you are yelling, no one's listening. So I try my hardest not to yell. Plus, I don't want my kids seeing that demonstrative figure, you know, because I do yell. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, you know, but it's very rare. You know, I might yell at the dogs, but I don't try to yell at my family as much when I'm angry. I don't try to get angry. I know how to calm myself down very easily. But yeah, also.
Let's get over a little bit. Look like my whole body and the whole alive, and yours.
It's about time. My head always be all in and alive, and you know it just be your little tiny body, her head and alive. But what was it? It was things to look for, right?
Yeah. So someone asked in the last video, what are some of the things that you would look for when courting someone,
or dating? You know, talking to somebody. Yeah, and she asked me this spot on just maybe 30, 40 minutes ago. What are 3 things that you would require out of a person now that you've been married and you know, we say we separated for some crazy reason? I said, what was it? How they treat you when they're angry, right?
Elaborate on that.
So how a person treats somebody when they're angry is a reflection on how they really feel a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like when I get angry, I'll just be quiet, right? Because I know that I can say some things that are very mean and disrespectful, and I don't really mean that when I'm angry. So a person who doesn't know how to hold their tongue, or who can say venomous things, you know, that's you can say things to a dude and you can't take that stuff back, you know. So how she treats me in that manner is very important, because you can't hold that in all the time. You'll slip up and the kids will hear it, friends will hear it, family will hear it, and it's just a reflection on your character. How you treat someone, you know, how you treat your worst enemy. You treat me the same way, and we lovers, you know, like that's crazy to me. How can you treat me the same way you treat your worst enemy? You know, so that was one thing. And that also deals with how they know how to control anger and things like that. Are you good at, you know, calming your own self down? You know, because that's something that I carry. So I think it's very important. So I would think that a lot of people should think it's important. The second thing was, what was the second thing, babe? You remember?
I remember, but I want you to remember.
I said,
because your
okay,
second
yes.
thing was my second
My
thing.
second thing was how responsible they are with finances. You know, like, do you have a ton of clothes but no money in your bank account? You know what I'm saying? Or are you going on trips all the time and your bills ain't paid? You know, things like that. Like, that is a reflection on, you know, your responsibilities. And I don't want to be with somebody who's not responsible enough to think that your living circumstances are just as important as your leisure time. So that was another one. And the third one was, if you have goals, right? First of all, you should have goals. You have goals. How far along are you into accomplishing those goals? And how many of them have you actually accomplished? Because, you know, you should have short-term goals and long-term goals. You should have those things. You should have a bit of a plan, especially if we're talking about mid-20s, late 20s, even 30s. You know, how far along are you coming close to implementing that? You know, and what's stopping you? Have you recognized what's stopping you? And are you determined, or are you easily, you know, the person that jumps ship so easy? So that was for the three for me. And I think that it's a bunch more. You know, it's a video of a older, I think it was a young girl, recording her grandmother, telling her what she should look for.
You know what? And her last name, you remember what her last name
Nope.
was? Hamler.
No. You serious?
Yes. Hey, go back to it. Go ahead. You shared
No,
it.
we got it. I shared it?
Yes.
I did. Oh man, yeah. She was dropping jewels, man. It's so many things that we don't even pay attention, you know. Like are they encouraging? You know? Can they encourage themselves? You know, how is their family? Right? Like, how do they interact with each other? You know? Are they a strong-minded individual? Are they progressive? Are they intelligent? You know, how is their problem-solving skills? I love my problem-solving skills, but I know she lacks some of those sometimes. Although she can, if it's not a problem, she can figure it out, right? Like, if it's just something that she's doing, she can figure it out. But when it comes to like something that needs immediate attention with an immediate response, she's gonna come to me and ask me how to solve it. And I'm like, if I have all of the necessary information on said problem, I can come up with at least a couple of resolutions, right? Practical resolutions. And that's what is another thing. It's the person practical, you know? Like, early on in our relationship, before we was even married, you know, she would say things that she would want before she get married, and it would be crazy stuff. Like, she won a $20,000 wedding ring. Also wants a $50,000 wedding, and I'm like, that's not practical. You know what I'm saying? Why would you didn't even say you wanted a house yet? God, you know, Lord knows what you want in your house. If you want a $70,000 marriage and a ring, you know. So I'm like, that's not practical. I can't come up with a resolution to that. You got to be more practical. So there's a bunch of stuff, you know, off the top of the head, just thinking about, you know, how does the person spend their time, their free time? What are their like stress relievers? What are their stress relievers? Because for some people, their stress reliever might be spending money, right? And if we're together, I'm not with that. You better go sit your ass down somewhere. You ain't about to go spend money because you stressed out, you know. So I figured my stress relievers out early on in life, you know. So it's a bunch of things that you should be looking for, you know. How are they with kids?
Do they want kids?
Do they want kids? Because they might be a great aunt and uncle, but, you know, terrible with kids of their own. You know what I'm saying? Like my dad wasn't really a good dad, but he's amazing with his grandkids. It's crazy. It's like, dude, where was this dude? Why you ain't got the same energy you had with us? You know what I'm saying? So all of these things factor in, and then there's different levels of looking for things, right? If you're a young person, you should be looking for those young type of things, like, oh, what are your career goals? What is your education like? You know, things like that. But if you're older and you're talking to somebody who has grandchildren, that's a whole different plethora of questions you should be looking at. You know, how are you with your kids? Do you have a relationship with your grandkids? You know, or what are your goals for your grandkids? Are you assisting them with trying to make their goals?
And it's conversation that you should be having when you are established. I'm not talking about financially established. What I mean by yourself being established, you should have a clear, conscientious thought of who you are as an individual before you go and question someone else about how is their finances and what are your stress
Are
relievers.
your finances good?
Yeah, you can go ask someone if their finances is together.
No.
If yet you don't even have 50 cents in your bank account. But yeah, I think that first
These are things that you should think about.
you should think about.
Because you can see some of this stuff spot on.
And I wouldn't be so ignorant to
A couple of weeks of dating somebody, you can see if they're a big spender, right?
or how they spend their time.
How many trips have they gone on, you know? What's your schedule?
And it's nothing wrong with living your life. Trust me.
No. But depending on how old you are and how well off you are, you know. Like my mom, she had a boyfriend who had no concept of money because he came from money. And it stressed my mom out. Random splurges, you know. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm doing what I want. I liked it, I wanted it, and I got it." You know. And she, you know, we don't come from that, so it was very difficult early on with my mom dating her boyfriend. So, you know, things like that. You know, like you have to be able to recognize, and you can't be afraid to let that person go too. Like, you know, don't get too far deep.
Love them enough to let them go.
Yeah,
if it don't work out.
Don't get too deep into a relationship with somebody, and you already know it's not gonna work out, right? Like this one girl asked us off our first video, oh, I have this guy I'm dating, but we're struggling, and it doesn't seem like he wants marriage, and I do. Well, that's a red light right there.
You probably won't be married
because you're telling us
dating
you're telling us the light stuff. He doesn't seem like he probably don't want marriage at all, and you are thinking that if you stay with him, if you continue to be right by him, he'll change his mind. You know, yeah. Don't think that people are hiding their hand. Sometimes they're gonna show you their hand off the bat. Believe them. You know, so a lot of this stuff is it's not necessarily taught. You know. It's like our parents kind of just expected us to pick up on it. And
a lot of times our parents are already demonstrating and you just pick it up. It's what we call a learned behavior. That it's not always good. It surprises me when people say, oh, my grandparents been together for umpteen years and they had this situation occur and divorce was not an option.
Maybe it should have been. Because your grandmama is miserable now. Been with this man for 70 years and she miserable, you know. All because you don't think that they should have got divorced because of how it would make you feel. What's up, man? What you need? No.
You have an apple.
That boy be asking for candy all day. But Yeah, 70 years, but just
And all of this is
angry
just
at
coming
each other all the damn last 69 years. You know, that's crazy to me, man. I don't understand that. Like, I like to be happy, and I don't want to be, miserable sleeping next to somebody. Not even sleeping next. They probably don't even sleep next to each other. Probably sleep in different rooms.
Man, I remember talking to this woman
At your
years
job.
ago at my job.
Yeah, I remember
guys.
too.
I was very close to her, so I cannot reveal who they are, and I wouldn't do that anyway. But I asked her. She was married for what, 20 years?
Mm-hmm.
Over 20 years, and I
And he was
asked
like,
them.
wow, that's a long time.
That's a long time. To me, that's a long time, right?
At the time, that probably how old? You probably a little younger than 20.
Yeah.
I mean, a little older than 20.
Yeah. And I asked them, I said, well, what's the secret to marriage, right? Because me and my husband was early on in our marriage, the beginning stages. And she said, oh, I sleep upstairs, he sleep downstairs. We stay in separate rooms. Like, I don't want that secret.
Because chances are,
I don't want that secret.
that brother, and I don't mean be disrespectful, but I know if it was me, chances are that brother ain't just sleeping up there by himself all the time. You know what I'm saying? He got to get something from somewhere. That's just what it is. I can only assume. I don't know. But that's not something that you should be pushing on people.
And that's why it's important, like my husband said, to piggyback on what he said, it's important to know that person's stress relievers and how they handle themselves or how they conduct themselves in a disagreement. Because if you get that angry that, a one-time sleeping on a couch turns into years of you sleeping on a couch and a decade of you sleeping on a couch. And now 2 decades, I got a big problem with that.
No.
I have a hard time sleeping when he's out the bed for 1 day.
Angry or not.
I wake him up off the couch. It's time to come upstairs. It's time to come upstairs.
Wow.
My couch is not meant for you to sleep on.
Never got an apology though. Just time to come upstairs, and I'm half asleep I just want to lay down. And she gonna keep bugging me until I get up. But yeah, so yeah, that's a little bit of good things to look for when you're courting and when you're dating someone.
My top 3 was family dynamics. How do they interact with their family? Like my husband said, how do they communicate within a family, right?
Communication skills, yeah, that's a good one.
How they communicate within a family. And I'll say that because my family is what I like to think is a close-knit family, and every time we get together it's nothing but a bunch of jokes and comedy. That's just what my family do, right? They always think everything is a joke and we laugh at everything. However, we all do have a common interest on what we believe, how we were raised within our family with our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers, because a lot of us know that they were prevalent in our upbringing. But my husband's family, it's 3 grown adults, and I kid you not, if you sit them down, they all have a totally different, not even one common interest on how they were raised. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that, what are the family dynamics? How did you guys communicate? What did you guys see? I probably, if I would have, because how we had our children is or how we had our daughter is not the conventional way of someone having a baby.
A lot of people wouldn't have made it through that.
A lot of people wouldn't have made it, but we did. If I would have known
By
that,
the grace of God.
if I didn't have good support from his family, I don't know how that would work. Say for instance, if his mother wasn't there, if she wasn't there, I would really be upset with that.
Mm-hmm.
Or if your father wasn't there, the times that he was there.
Yeah, it would have been difficult.
Extremely difficult. It was already difficult.
Yeah, it would have been.
But even more difficult.
Even more stress.
My second one was finances. How people spend their money. What is their goals with their money. And that goes into a marriage conversation. Do you want to have a joint bank account when we get married?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to combine incomes, or do you want to split the bills down the middle?
Right.
I will have to ask those questions. Some of you guys who making bukus of money, is a prenup required.
Yeah.
We're not making bukus of money, so that doesn't apply. But
No
but
prenup.
truthfully, we done built everything
Yeah,
together.
we literally
Together.
built everything we have right now together, and it's. I think that could be it'd be difficult because my brother, he's looking at a situation that they have time invested, but they don't have much built aside from their kids, and that that was that's not the same as putting hard work, because it took one night to make those kids, and 9
Took a
months.
night.
Well, you get pregnant one night, and 9 months to actually birth those kids, But, when you talk about building credit together, buying and purchasing things where you both have one thing, how do you split it? You know what I'm saying? Investing in things and seeing the return on the investments, like that drives you a little bit more. And it gives you a little less of a giving up mentality too. Like, I love my wife, and I don't want to divorce my wife, but it'd be times where we get to that point where we like, man, I don't know. And I think, I love her, but there's also a bunch of other stuff that's in. Number one, I don't want my kids to go through that, right? And number two, you take the light, get those nails out of the way, man. Number two, I don't want to have to deal with the splitting up everything.
I'm gonna make it extremely difficult. There's not one thing that we have in this house with one person's name on it.
No, even all
and
my
I
dogs.
like it just like that.
Yeah, all my dogs are co-owned. All my dogs are co-owned. So if I do breedings, I have to do them with her. I have to, have to run through her. You know what I'm saying? Her name is arbitrarily automatically attached to my business.
Hey, and if I'm carrying his last name, that's just what it's gonna be anyway.
Yeah, I want to put my name on all the stuff, so everybody with that name is automatically attached to reaping the benefits of it. Yeah. So that was some light topics. I think we'll focus more on one of those topics and go into them in more depth. Like I said, we be going on top of the dome. We're gonna start coming with some research facts for y'all though, because we love the research stuff and bring out the facts. She's a super what do you call it? Etymologist. She's into the etymology of words. I am too. I love hearing when she tells me a new word, or not even a new word, but a word that we've been colloquially using.
Yes.
Like spiritualities. Mm-hmm. Not spiritual, and not spirituality, but spiritualities. Is revenue generated by a clerk or
clergy,
or a church or a clergy, right? So when someone says that, that's what they're talking about. But you would think that it would have it would be synonymous with spiritual, and it's not necessarily. So just looking up that kind of stuff, I was like, what? That don't make no sense.
or mutt.
Yeah, mutt, right? What is it for mutt?
To
Mutt?
be ignorant, to be a stupid person.
Yeah, right? And I'm like, mutt? You talking about a dog that's like mixed? Or a human being that's mixed? They call it a human being, even though it's really just a dog that's mixed with different breeds. You call it a mutt. But no.
Married.
Yeah, marriage. You thinking it's being married to somebody. No, it's not necessarily just that. And part of that reason is because these words in English have like 4 or 5 definitions to them. The old etymology, the old time dictionary definition to it, and this new working definition, because people change up definitions all the time. What was it called? Oh man, Double X was always saying you guys are. Blackology. No, man, what was it? Where a man came up with the term for African people.
Afrocentric?
Afrocentric, right? And there's a negative definition for it, and then there's a definition that the man who created it gave it. So I choose to go with the one who created it. It's actually being taught in college classes. But this brother was using it in a negative sense. And he like, dude,
Yes.
why are you doing that? You know, you can use another word. But the original word was meant for people to look at the history of Africa through the eyes of Africans, or African American at the least. But you want to say, oh, you Afrocentric, oh, you just make everything black. No, that's not what it meant, you know. So it's stuff like that causes such a discommunication. So you want to definitely always come up with the working definition of the words you use.
Two more. While we on this topic, indefinitely. Two totally different words. One more.
That's funny.
Indefinitely.
What? Yeah.
And
I know a lot of y'all might be like, what? Yeah, we know that, but there's people out here that don't know that.
okay, I gotta add on two more.
Those are two different definitions, even though they say the two different words.
Two totally different meanings.
Yeah. The brother asked him. He was
Nationality.
This dude was
ethnicity.
Yeah, that's a tongue tie. Yeah, that could be a tongue. Yeah, right. Not the same. Because you can be an African, but be an American. You know.
Oh, what's your nationality? Oh, I'm black.
No, you're not. That's your race, so to speak. Even though black is
It's not
race.
funny, you guys, because
Yeah.
I understand that we have been misusing these words for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I just challenge you all to download an app or carry a Bible. A Bible.
Yeah, don't carry that.
I'm not saying what my husband said. But,
No, I'm just playing. I do carry a Bible still because I like.
well, go ahead, Pastor Hamlin.
Nah, I like.
Go ahead, Pastor Hamlin.
I always keep a Bible close because I be talking to these religious zealots and they be telling me stuff and I be like, nah, that's not what it say in the Bible and that's what I would have meant. You know, I got the concordance number. I can look it up and it's not what it meant. So yeah, ain't nothing wrong with carrying the Bible.
Specifically,
Specifically what?
that's another word.
Specifically.
How do they say it?
I don't know. Specifically?
Pacific,
Pacific, yeah.
Let me be Pacific.
Right.
You guys forgive us. We find this stuff hilarious.
Getting flown out.
I'm about to get flowed out.
How you say it? Flown out? Flown out? Is it flew out or flown out? Man, these people acting like George Bush, making up words on the spot. Yeah, man. I think we're gonna cut it short, y'all. But yeah, appreciate y'all coming through, hanging out with the Hamlers on YouTube. Check us out.
Yeah. Oh, I thought I pinned our email address and stuff below, but hey.
Yeah, you did pin our email. You did pin our email
No.
address. Did? Oh,
I must didn't do it on this one. However,
Nope, you didn't. You didn't.
However, you can inbox us individually, and or follow us on YouTube. We definitely want you guys to follow us on YouTube, which
And if
is
you're looking
Hamler's
for-
Finest. Or
Oh no, you just type in hanging out with the Hamlers.
oh, hanging out with the Hamlers. We have a lot attached to this last name. Please forgive us, and we're working on a lot of other new things. However, or you can email us at Hamler.
Hamler's Finest at Gmail.
Hamler's Finest at gmail.com. Now I'm tongue tied. You was at the beginning of it.
Right. Hamler's Finest at Gmail.
Yeah, but thank you for
.com.
tuning in, you guys. Comment below or either email us. Either one.
All right, we out.